Have you ever experienced conflicting identities and feelings? For example, being funny and laid back at times and extremely serious and uptight at other times, or feeling both old and young simultaneously. If you can relate to this, it means you are quite normal. In the 1980s, psychotherapist Richard Schwartz began to notice that the people he worked with had multiple aspects to themselves that often had different ways of looking at and interacting with the world. He used these observations to develop a new psychotherapy model called internal family systems, in which he believes that the mind is naturally multiple. This means that every person is composed of multiple versions of themselves, which he refers to as parts that come in and out of play, such as having both a funny part and a serious part. In this model, Richard Schwartz talks about something that everyone has, which he calls the self. The self is essentially who you are when no parts are in play. So when neither the funny part nor the serious part is in play, there is the self. To illustrate, consider the analogy of a movie production. You have one director, who is the self. This person is in charge of the entire production and is responsible for the outcome. However, there are also many other individuals involved in the movie production process, such as the art department, makeup and wardrobe, camera and lighting. These people, while not the director or self, are still just as crucial to the movie production. Instead of being the central leader, they each have their specialized roles and functions. In terms of pop culture, there is no direct media portrayal of internal family systems, as it was introduced in the 1980s and is a relatively new psychotherapy model. However, there are still depictions of people having parts, even though there is no specific IFS dialogue around it. One of the most prominent examples is Inside Out, a 2015 Pixar movie about Riley, a middle school girl who moves from her home in Minnesota to the new and intimidating San Francisco. The entire film takes place within Riley's own mind, where her emotions are portrayed as characters: joy, sadness, anger, disgust, and fear, who take turns influencing Riley's behavior through a shared control panel, which is very similar to the way parts work in IFS if you consider the parts without the central self. This is a very similar concept to Inside Out's 1991 sitcom predecessor, Herman's Head, which is about a research assistant named Herman and his 4 inner people: kindness, lust, anxiety, and logic, who work together, and also against, to make all his life decisions. Another depiction can be seen in Season 3 of The Boys, a TV series about superpowered individuals and the corruption behind them. One of the main characters is a supervillain named Homelander, who is equally sadistic and narcissistic, but experiences a lapse in self-assurance. Instead of seeking help elsewhere, he turns to no one other than himself.
Why the long face, Tiger?
In this scene, Homelander demonstrates how different parts of us take on different roles, including different ages. In IFS, there are often parts that resemble children and other parts that resemble adults. The child parts take on a nurturing role, while the adult parts take on a caregiving role.
What if I can't handle him? Oh, you can handle him. You're the top of the food chain. Hey. When we were kids, alone in the bedroom, I got us through it, right? Don't I always? Always. No matter what. No matter what. And now, I'll get us through this, just as long as you and me stick together.
Like The Boys, the Amy Tan novel The Joy Luck Club also depicts how different parts can have different roles. However, rather than showing already established dynamics, Amy Tan portrays the discovery of new parts of oneself through the stories of Jing Mei Wu and Rose Shu Jordan. In Jing Mei Wu's story, she deals with an overbearing mother who wants to turn her into a successful child prodigy, pushing her to be a geographic brainiac or a Chinese Shirley Temple. However, one night she ends up being pushed so far that she discovers a new side of herself. Jing Mei, who is usually compliant, quiet, and obedient, meets a new powerful part of herself. I had never seen that face before. The girl staring back at me was angry, powerful. This girl and I were the same. I had new thoughts, willful thoughts. I won't let her change me. I promised myself I won't be what I am not. A similar theme is present in Rose Shue Jordan's story. Initially, Rose was going to passively accept the divorce terms laid out by her ex-husband, which included him getting their beautiful house so that he could live in it with the woman who replaced her. However, after being pushed around in her marriage and divorce, she finally stands up to her ex-husband, the submissive and subservient part of her.
Honey, should we eat in or out tonight? You've had a hard day. I don't really care. I just want you to be happy.
Meets a part that is free, wild, and no longer accepts being less than. After meeting this new powerful part of herself, she asserts that she gets to keep the house, and he is the one who has to find somewhere else to live. So far, Inside Out, The Boys, and the Joy Luck Club have served as contemporary examples of the mind being multiple. In conclusion, the last example is a motif that has been used for centuries, the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. This motif has been used since the 1300s and continues to be used to this day. Through the IFS lens, it can be understood that the central middle person is the self, while the devil and angels are different parts. The devil represents an individual's carnal desires, while the angel represents desires based on virtue. In IFS, people can have qualities that contradict each other, yet they coexist. For example, one part of you is self-focused and wants to eat the last 5 donuts in the lunchroom, while another part of you is community-focused and wants to save the last 5 donuts for other people. Even though they are opposites, they are both valid parts of you. That is the beauty of looking at the world through IFS. People are not confined to a singular way of being, but are treated as multidimensionally rich and complex beings.